Everyone, I have internet finally 5 days. Man, I thought I could hang, but I can't. I could do without my TV. I could do without my Netflix. I could do without that for 5 days. But trying to run a business when you have no internet and having to basically stock coffee shops. Today, guys, I kid you not, I was sitting on my parents' front porch, not inside the house because I forgot my key. I was sitting on their front porch trying to mooch their Wi-Fi so I could get my work done. So cheers to having internet service. Hey, Adam, happy hump day to you as well, man. Brian, so good to see you. So that's been my adventure for the past few days. So thank you for my clients who have been so patient with me and trying to communicate with me using the internet. Did mom have coffee? No, mom did not have coffee. My parents live close by. So I went to their house to go use their Wi-Fi services so I could just get my work done. And I forgot my key. So I'm literally sitting on my front porch, on my parents' front porch, waving to the neighbors and just kind of getting the internet from there. Hey, Joe, glad you could join in. What's up, Tom? We got TC. Hola. We got Joe Green on board, Tom McIntyre, Bill Ames. How's it going, guys? And guys, I see a lot more of you on my YouTube channel. I am so excited about that. Hey, Patrick, there's my fellow PT. I am broadcasting from my YouTube channel. Some people find it to be just a little bit easier to watch me from there. Video quality might be a little easier. I don't know. All right, we got Johnny V from Poughkeepsie in the Cosi Talks house. What's up, Johnny V? Brett with his coffee in the cup. Cheers to you. I actually have boring tea. I know, not so exciting today. Hey, Denise. Oh, you made it, Denise. Wonderful. Hello, Susan and Glenda. We got Glenda on board. Did I get everybody? All right, guys. So we've got a nice crew on board. We got a lot going on in the next few months for Cosi Talks. A lot of special guests coming on board. Hey, Line, comadre. Happy Wednesday. What's up, Donna? If you guys didn't catch it, I had my very first guest on the show for the year, Ronnie Dixon, amazing prosthetist from Prosthetic and Orthotic Associates in Tennessee. If you guys did not catch that show, y'all, he did some serious truth bombs there. I threw some really kind of sticky questions at him, and he didn't flinch. He answered them truthfully, and he just dropped mic and gave you guys some really amazing answers and really wonderful advice. So guys, to say I'm always excited when I have a prosthetist come on the show because I think you need to see both sides of that coin. All right, welcome to your home in Mobile, Alabama. Roll Tide, Matthew. We got Harsh on board, Val, Chuck Williams from Wyoming. Hey there. Okay. Oh, you just watched the replay. Oh, wonderful. Squat, yes, and we're going to talk about the squat video. So guys, those of you, I should probably introduce myself, right? Yeah, let me go ahead and do that part. For those of you joining me for the first time this evening, welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist here in Tampa, Florida. I've been a PT for 19 years, and working with the limb loss community is my passion and vocation. So guys, along with this evening show, I started a new morning show on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's basically to feature, and of course, I never seem to have my book available. I should do that, right? Hang on. All right, so my 11 a.m. Morning show is to feature, let me put that the right way, my new Cosi Talk Strong Body program. So a lot of you here have subscribed to the program and are using the program. It's always exciting to see people actually using the program. I'm always excited about that. Some of you have bought the book. Some of you have bought the video subscriptions. Okay. So my Wednesday morning show at 11 a.m. is to kind of help you with this program. Okay. Because many of you I know have never had a fitness program that was adapted to your needs while using a prosthesis, right? So the Wednesday morning show is to kind of help you get started, answer questions. So each week I've been featuring an exercise and basically just dissecting that exercise into its little bits and components and showing you how you can do it with your prosthesis and in some cases without, how you can do it as a below the knee, above the knee, bilateral, right? And how you can start off the exercise as a beginner and progress it to the advanced stages. Yeah. Anybody want to see a clip from the Strong Body program? Anybody want to see that? Let's see. Hey, Ashley, we got Mary from Lakeland. Oh, you're in my backyard, Mary. Denise, excellent question. So Denise asks, how many days a week and reps per session on the squats? from this morning's episode. So this morning, it was exactly that, guys. It was all about the squats. And those of you who have the book, okay, it's going to be phase 2. All right, so the phase 2 exercises for legs, that's where you're going to find this particular one. All right, so with any muscle strengthening exercise, you got to put your basic muscle physiology to work, usually between 2 to 3 times a week for a muscle group, okay? For me, I like to keep it simple in my own personal routine. I got arms day and legs day and core, right? So those are the big 3 groups. So working them out 2 to 3 times a week. You don't want to do too many because you got to give those muscle fibers a chance to heal properly, right? As far as the repetitions are concerned, I'm going to tell you how I do it with my own patients, right? So if I have my patients doing the squat exercise that we did this morning, okay, I'll have them do 10 and just see what happens. Now, guys, when I have them do 10 repetitions, I'm not just talking about bouncing up and down like a little bunny rabbit. I'm talking they got to go down slowly. They have to hold that contraction for a moment and then come back up slowly. That's 1 repetition, okay? And not too many of my patients can do 10 full repetitions done the right way the first time around, okay? But I gauge to see, were they struggling with repetition 8, 9, and 10, okay? Were they struggling before that, okay? Your last 2 to 3 repetitions should be a little bit tougher to do. That's where you should feel a little bit more of the burn, a little bit more of the effort, okay? Now, if you are one of those people that you get through those 10 repetitions and you didn't feel anything, then you either need to add some weight to make it more challenging or add repetitions, okay? And it's a guess and check, right? Even with my own patients. So I generally pick like 3 sets, and I might have the patient do 10 repetitions the first set, 7 repetitions the second, 7 repetitions the third. I'm gauging to see how much effort they're having to put into it to complete the repetitions, okay? And maybe I should actually do that. Maybe that'll be my one for next week. What do you guys think? What do you think, Denise? Maybe that should be my topic next week, is how to gauge how many repetitions you should be doing, right? You did your, oh, Patricia. Yeah, you're going to feel it. I was telling Suzanne, my model, this morning, I was like, girl, you're going to be remembering my name tomorrow morning when you wake up. But yes. Okay, so let me just share it with you. Hey, Jim. Oh. So Patrick says, my ortho guru adds, feet turned out a bit to decrease stress on your knees besides good form you demonstrated. And yes, so Patrick, depending on, you know, again, when we have folks with the prosthetic devices, the turning in or out of the feet to target different parts of the thigh muscles is something that many people will do. I'm always a little bit cautious with that, Patrick, only because I don't want to cause any skin breakdown. So usually I'll start with the traditional squat form and just see how is my patient, how is my viewer reacting to it, especially with the skin. So guys, let me go ahead and share it. I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show you the squat exercise, how to get to it. Let me see if I can do this. Ooh, okay. All right, so here's a sneak peek into the Strong Body program. Those of you who've got a subscription, this should look very familiar to you. So we're going to go to above the knee, leg, phase 2, and then I'm going to turn off my mic so that you guys can hear it better. Here's our squat. Okay.
Now, we're going to teach you the traditional squat. I know it doesn't sound very fancy, but this is one of the greatest exercises that you can do, especially when you're learning with your prosthesis how to do it. So in Jonathan's case, he does have a microprocessor knee and he's turned it off, so it's in kind of a free swing mode right now. So the first time you try this exercise, I encourage you to have a chair behind you in case you need to sit yourself down. So he's got his feet shoulder width, and you can even do it slightly bigger than shoulder width apart. He's going to go into a traditional squat. Here's the thing with traditional squat, very good. As you can see, Jonathan is doing it beautifully. He's taking his butt and he's sticking it out far back. He's not letting his knees come over his toes. All you're doing there is stressing out your knees. So it's the motion of sitting down into a chair. Down and then up. And as you're going up, make it a conscious effort to squeeze your bottom. Now, as an amputee, you also want to make sure that you're trying to distribute the weight as evenly as possible between both feet. It's not going to be perfect, and it's only natural to favor your stronger leg. But again, with this exercise, try to make that effort to bring the weight over into the prosthetic side. So as you're going to
Okay, guys, did that go through? Sorry. I'm like clicking way too. Hey, Alice, we got Laura here from Pittsburgh. All right, you did your 30. So guys, did that go through? Can you guys just throw that in the comment section? I'm still learning some of the bells and whistles here of this program. So I'm trying to figure out how I can share these things with you guys and not lose audio. Okay, Harsh, thank you. Okay, so guys, I featured that one now because I had a below the knee model with me today, Suzanne. Wasn't able to have an above the knee model with me today. So I just wanted you to see, this is what it looks like. So obviously Jonathan, the model that you just saw there, he has a microprocessor knee and he just kind of turned it off. So it was in free swing. So for those of you who are my above the knee, you gotta kind of play around with it and see how you can get your knee to do this exercise. And with Jonathan, before we filmed it, we had him practice holding on to something because obviously if your knee might buckle and you got to get used to doing that, you don't want to fall down in the process, right? So safety first, guys. But as you can see, he's able to do this exercise, right? I remember when I started really treating amputees, a lot more in my career, and many of them would say, oh, I can't do squat if I'm an above the knee amputee. And it's like, no, you can't. We got to modify it, but you can do it. And as you heard me say in the video, you may not necessarily have equal weight bearing, right, on both sides, but you can certainly start doing the exercise, right? And usually like I said in the video, I have people just go down just a little bit. And we demonstrated that as well today with Suzanne, just doing a small range of motion with the squat until your body understands how to do the movement and how to activate those muscles properly. Now, Jonathan is a really fit guy. He bikes, I think 30 to 40 miles a day. He is a beast. So obviously he was really able to get down nice and low for that squat. But for those of you who are starting out, and myself included, by the way, I just did that one repetition on the video, but I don't usually go down that low. Not yet. I got to kind of keep it a little bit higher first, right? But again, love this exercise because there's so much that we can do. So go watch that video. It's on my YouTube channel, and I show you how you can progress yourself. For those of you who are my runners, Tom, I know you're out there watching. There's lots of ways that you can modify this exercise and make it more challenging for yourself. All right, I see a million comments coming in, and I want to make sure I get to some of these comments. All right, we got Joan. Hey, Joan. Let's see, we got Steven from a snowstorm in Michigan. Holy smokes. And we got Kathy on board. Leanne. Thank you, Leanne. I'm trying. All right. And so Jean says, I think you mean to say AK. When I do squats, I lean to one side. Guys, that's normal. If you're a below the knee amputee, okay, and you don't have any other problems going on, no hip pain, joint pain, or anything like that. With my below the knee, I tend to be a little bit more of a stickler and trying to get them to really bear the weight equally into both sides, right? Because you have that anatomical knee. So we want to utilize it, right? And then also for my below the knee patients, you will start firing some of those calf muscles. Okay. So those calf muscles that you feel are atrophying, which they are, right? But you can still get them to fire a little bit when you're doing the squat. And also the muscles that are in front of your shin. Okay. Those tibial, those tibial muscles can start firing just a little bit. So that's why I encourage, weight bearing as equally as possible on both sides. Okay. Couple of caveats with this is obviously you want to check your skin, right? For my below the knee amputees, they need to make sure that the brim of the socket isn't hitting their knee, tearing up their skin, back of the knee, right? So when you're first learning to do this exercise, you got to check a few things and troubleshoot to get it to the point where you can do it. But guys, it's worth learning how to do it. It's worth learning how to accommodate it to you, because this is an exercise that will take you through the rest of your life. Okay. Everybody from the teenage athletes, and I even had a 102-year-old patient once, had him doing mini squats. No joke. So great exercise, worth the investment in your time to see if you can do it and to learn how to do it. All right, we got Jennifer on board. Let's see. Patrick says, at home, hold on to the kitchen sink. Sometimes I'll do chair stands with arms to train form. And guys, those of you who saw the video this morning, we used my pickup truck because it was parked in front of where I usually film. And I had Suzanne just hold on to the pickup truck, and I had a chair behind her for safety. So lots of stuff that you can do. All right. So Johnny says, Punxsutawney Phil emerged from his tree stump with the help of his inner circle and saw his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter. Oh boy. All right. So he says, let's get out on the slopes, adaptive skiers before the season is over with. Oh yeah. Here we go. Kays. Oh my goodness. I haven't seen you here in a while, Kays. Glad to have you on board. We got Mark and Tisha. Okay. Let's see. Kay says, I can't do squats for the life of me, maybe being bilateral. Actually, Kays, for those of you who are my bilateral below the knee, okay, it is possible. Now, do you have to start, especially if you haven't done this movement in a really long time? Yes, you have to start off really, really slowly. So Kays, I want you to go and watch the video I made this morning where I explain how you can start doing it as a bilateral. Case for you, if you haven't done it in a while, just make sure you're watching your skin. Okay, make sure those sockets are fitting comfortably while you're doing this exercise, and start with a small movement. Now, for my bilateral above the knee amputees, obviously that's a much different looking script. I don't know if Jeffrey's on board this evening, but Jeffrey and Trevor, both of my favorite bilateral above the knee amputees in our community. And I love watching what they do. So for them, they do some of their workouts with their stubbies on, right? And so if you're going from sit to stand in your stubbies, okay, you're kind of imitating that squat movement and you're activating those glutes. All right. Pat, man. Oh, it's good to see you. Pat, this is a good one for you. This is a good one for you. I like this one for you. All right, guys. So we had several questions roll in this week, and more importantly, and guys, you know what? If you don't mind, I'm going to do a shameless. Just going to finish up my shameless plug-in of my program because I want to see everybody using it. All right. So, guys, the program I just kind of pulled that video from is right here. You can either grab the book, you can do the video subscriptions, something in there for everybody. The Above the Knee book. It's coming soon, guys. I promise it's coming soon. So let's take a look at one of these questions that came in. This one was a really nice one. This one came in from a gentleman named Kan Polat. He says, I am a physio, graduated in 2015 from Turkey. I'd like to ask you any resources, recommendations for people with a bilateral below the knee amputation with phantom pain. 2 years after amputation, what are your thoughts on motor imagery? Do you agree, and does it work? First of all, I was just like, wow, somebody from Turkey is watching me. This is kind of cool. I need to get a map and just put the little thumbtacks where all my viewers are coming from, because I'm starting to see them from around the world. So, I contacted this particular physiotherapist from Turkey, and we talked a little bit about it. And yes, even for bilaterals, the use of mirror box therapy. That's one of my personal favorites in terms of conservative management for phantom limb pain. And again, I have a whole series of videos of that on my YouTube channel as well. I got a lot on my YouTube channel. You guys should check it out. So obviously it's a little bit different because in a bilateral amputee, you don't have an anatomical leg, right? So everybody here is familiar with mirror box therapy. Everybody kind of familiar. So I'll just briefly describe it. With mirror box therapy, okay, you're basically putting your anatomical leg up against a mirror. You sandwich it between your knees or between your legs, and you put the sound leg in front of the mirror so that when you look in the mirror, it looks like you have two anatomical legs, right? And it kind of starts to kind of trick your brain, and in many cases can help calm down just a little bit that phantom limb pain and give the person some even just temporary relief. And then with consistent use, it could help decrease phantom pain over the course of time. Okay. I love using this technique. It's extremely low cost, right? You just got to go get a cheap mirror from Walmart. It doesn't involve the use of narcotics, right? And the worst that will happen in using this treatment is it won't work, right? I've never seen anybody whose phantom pain got worse in trying mirror box therapy, right? So I always say, let's give it a try, right? So for bilaterals, what do? 2 things. you can put the prosthesis on, and sometimes just by putting the prosthesis on and looking in the mirror, that's enough for the brain to start kind of thinking that there's a leg there, okay? And typically I would say use the leg that has less phantom pain, right? Usually if the bilaterals will feel it so many times on both sides, but there might be one side that's not quite as strong as the other, right? So let's try that. And then the other way, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, I saw a picture of this and I'm like, this is brilliant. The person put on a pair of pants and put their shoes on, right? So when they put their leg up against the mirror, it really did look like a real leg with the pant and the shoes sticking up, okay? And then going through the phantom limb pain techniques with mirror box therapy. Patrick asks, hey, Eric, what's the average time with phantom pain overall? Unfair question. Yeah, dude, that's a really unfair question. So guys, Patrick is my colleague in New York. He is a physical therapist. He is a heck of an advocate for his patients. So guys, let's help Patrick out, okay? Those of you who feel comfortable throwing this in the comments section, tell us how long you've been experiencing your phantom pain, right? So I can just tell you, obviously I'm not an amputee myself, but just from seeing patients for 19 years, oftentimes the phantom pain can begin as soon as right after surgery, weeks, months, sometimes a little bit even longer later than that. And everyone is different. I don't think I've ever met two people who have experienced phantom limb pain for the same amount of time, in the same manner, with the same triggers. Like everybody has a completely different profile. Right? For the most part, though, it's intense in the beginning. And from what I understand, from what my patients tell me, it decreases over the course of time, especially if they jump into using a prosthesis a lot earlier. Okay. Some people, it comes in waves, right? Exacerbations and remission, exacerbation and remission. Some people, it's constant. I mean, it's all over the board. So let's just see what some of these comments are saying right here. Eric says it's been for a year. Brett says in the first 6 months. Brian says 4.5 years, tolerable right now. Eric says that it comes and goes. Leanne says 6 years so far. Eric says it started for him 2 weeks after surgery. So it really is just all over the board. And that's something that I include in my evaluations with my patients, is just saying, do you have phantom limb pain? Do you have phantom limb sensation? What are the triggers that you feel like about? Have you explored conservative methods? Okay. Scott says, still have the left BK in May 2019 and still have lots of phantom pain. So yeah, this is a whole, I just sent out an email to the Cosi Talk subscribers last week. And then I said, somebody told me that whoever finds the cure for phantom pain will be declared a saint. Right. So one of the options, it's basically a chronic condition, Patrick, in some folks. And some people, you do occasionally run into folks that they don't experience pain. They'll experience sensation, right? That they can feel their toes, they can feel their leg, but not necessarily associated with pain, right? Here we go. Ooh, wait. I just got one of these comments. Let's see. Robert says 47 years, it's up and down, as in he's an AK. Eric says it goes away when I put my prosthesis on. And that's another thing is, when the brain gets that proprioceptive input, Patrick, it kind of helps with reducing some of that in some folks. Let's see. Jim says phantom pain transition to phantom sensation, which I still have after 6 years as a right above the knee amputee. Okay. Yes. So Patrick, and I actually did a full show on this one, Patrick. It's on my YouTube channel. There are certain pharmaceuticals that are used to help with phantom pain. Gabapentin is one of the big ones. And again, I am not against the use of using medication to help with phantom limb pain, especially for people whose pain is basically preventing them from living their life, But that being said, big old asterisk, circle that asterisk, is if you are going to be using these medications, making sure that you are either being followed by a PM&R doctor, okay, physical medicine rehabilitation doctor, and in my personal preference, a pain management doctor, someone who specializes in this, basically so that they can carefully monitor how much of this medication that you use for that. And that's a whole, like I said, that's a whole show right there. But Patrick, you can check that one out on the YouTube channel as well. It's been a while since I've done a phantom limb pain show. And actually, guys, I should be saying this. In March, okay, we're going to be talking about targeted muscle reinnervation. And why am I saying that in relation to phantom limb pain? Because in many people, they find that phantom limb pain is actually triggered by a neuroma, right? Big old bundle of nerve and scar tissue in the residual limb, right? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that procedure and what it involves and what are the outcomes associated with that. Okay, but I don't want to give too much away. Let's see. Let's see, we got a lot of comments coming in from this one. Denise says, I rarely have phantom pain, maybe a couple of times per month, but one of the things that I do is use my Theragun massager on my thigh right above the prosthesis, right BK. And again, a lot of the sensory input for many people that helps either prevent the phantom pain from coming on or helps alleviate it a little bit. Some people do the tapping, some people do a Theragun, some people with a warm bath. It kind of helps with that. Everybody's just a little bit different with what helps and what doesn't help. All right. Kay says, do you think phantom pains also have something to do with how you lost your leg? Saying maybe depends on pain you had before amputation. Absolutely. Absolutely, Case. So one of the things I ask is the person tells me, yes, I have phantom pain. I ask them, what does it feel like? What does it feel like? In my traumatic amputees, meaning amputees who lost their limb during an accident, a motorcycle, car accident, some wacky, whatever kind of accident, a lot of times their phantom pain mimics how it felt when they had that accident. It's almost like the brain took a snapshot of the last moment and the last memory of having the leg. And yes, even those who had chronic pain, if they had huge diabetic ulcer, if they had, sepsis, whatever it was, the pain is mimicked sometimes by what they had prior to amputation. Yeah, absolutely, Case. Absolutely. Johnny says, started soon after the spinal block from the surgery wore off. I still have it 20 years later. Susan says, I don't get very much phantom pain at all. And if I do, it lasts about 10 seconds. That's not bad. Stephen says, blessed with only phantom sensation. And yes, that is exactly it. Stephen, you are blessed. You're absolutely right. Let's see. So Susan says, I take the narcotics for my nerve pain in my residual limb. Lyrica. Yep. Let's see, mine didn't show up until 6 years. Wow, Tom, after my amputation, not all the time, 2, maybe 3 times a year and very manageable. Interesting. Okay. See, we get, and it's interesting whenever I talk about phantom pain, like the comment section blows up because this is a huge part of something that will affect your daily life. Yes, Bill, TENS machines. I love using TENS machines to try to help with phantom limb pain. Let's see. Okay, sorry guys, if I don't get to your comment or your question, I always go back and I try to address them after the show is over. Adam says, I lost my leg in a horrible accident, motorcycle accident. I only feel tingles and lightning bolts sometimes. It's not bad and it tickles some. And then you have it all across the board with this phantom pain. And then Brian says, phantom sensation I get is just like my old gray cold foot is still there. Yeah. All right. Patrick asks, is the phantom pain intermittent and how does it affect your ambulation? So in some cases, yes, Patrick, it is intermittent. For some people, the more severe cases, it's constant. Usually the cases that are constant are the ones that benefit, I think, the most from having the use of medication to help with that pain, just to kind of help break that pain cycle. And as far as affecting the ambulation, and again, I'm speaking as a therapist, but I want to hear your thoughts personally, guys. I find that the ambulation helps with the phantom pain. Okay. So if the person doesn't have limb sensitivity, so if they're not hypersensitive, if we've moved past that stage and they're wearing the prosthesis, walking helps with the phantom pain a lot. And for me, it's the proprioception exercises. So Patrick, you notice that I do a lot of closed chain exercises, both in my demonstrations and in my examples. So guys, closed chain means that you're doing the exercise with your foot planted, right? Whether it's planted on the ground, right? And you're standing in the parallel bars, or in the case of when you're doing bridges, right? Your foot is on the mat, planted there. So it's like a closed chain. I find that doing a lot of closed chain exercises is helpful. It just increases that proprioception and it helps with some of that phantom pain. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Jody. Oh, darling. Yes. Keep me updated on how you're doing. Whew, you've had a lot on your plate, Jody. Kay says my pain was when they were thawing my legs and feet and severe frostbite head to toes. Oh my. Whew, that must have been intense. All right, let's look at the next question. Okay, here's another Cosi poll for you guys. All right. This one came from one of the support groups, and this individual asked, I wonder how many people wear their prosthetic leg every day and how long do they average wearing it? All right. Start typing those answers in the comment section. I always like to see who wears their leg, the longest, who wears their leg the shortest amount of time. But I think it's also good for especially those folks who are kind of new to the show and maybe new to being an amputee, so that they can also see that it's all across the board there as well, right? Adam says all day, every day, right? I have people that, they basically open their eyes, their leg is on, and the leg does not come off until they close their eyes at nighttime. So like Brian Bishop, 10 to 16 hours a day. Whew, you guys are quick draw McGraws with this one. All right. And we've got Scott saying 6 to 8, most days, 6 to 8 hours. Mark, 6 to 10 hours. Jim, 14 hours. Brett says, not these days, need a new socket. Eric says, wearing mine for about 13 to 14 hours, right? With self-care, got out of my, Susan. Oh, guys, give a shout out to Suzanne right there. She was my beautiful below the knee amputee model. She's been coming every Wednesday morning to help me out with my morning show. Give a shout out to Suzanne. And if she sounds like her name sounds familiar, it's also because she was the talented cellist who came on my show in Christmas to help me bring some Christmas carols in the Christmas concert. So I'm going to make her blush just a little bit. All right. We got Andy who says he wears it all day. Leanne says, me personally, when I'm in the pool, it's only relief to get from my pain. Yeah. So a lot of people are wearing it every day, all day. I love this. Suzanne says 4:45 a.m. Holy cow, girl, you've been awake a long time. Up until now for today. So that's a long time for you. 15 plus hours a day for Susan. Chuck wears his every day for 8 to 12 hours. Longest he wore was 72 hours. Not smart. No, I'm sure there's a story behind that one, Val. But no, 72 hours, that's too much. Your skin needs to breathe. All right. So and then we have Karen who says that she can't wear it daily due to a rare skin condition that blisters easily. I wear it anywhere from 2 to 10 hours, depending on how my skin is doing. There you go. So you've got it all across the board. Marianne says, I wear my legs every day, but less when my stupid sockets don't fit right. Yeah. And guys, I forgot which study I read, but basically they said the number one reason for people not wearing their prosthesis, the socket's not comfortable. Yeah. All right. Tom says 13 to 15 hours. You guys are intense. This is awesome. Oh, Joe, waiting on more revisions. All right. So I love how you guys I like it when you guys participate in these Cosi polls. I love it. All right. Hang on. Let me go back to my list of questions. Okay. Ooh, this was a good one. Okay. So this was a person who emailed me. And she gave me permission to talk about her question. Obviously, I'm not going to mention any names. But she says, my brother is a below the knee amputee and has been confined to his wheelchair for months because his prosthesis doesn't fit. I'm trying to get him to see if he would be a good candidate for the Revo Fit. He lives in my area and at this time is unable to drive. Are there any therapists that work with Revo Fit? I would like to see him get a prosthesis that works for him so he can get out of the wheelchair and start moving again, and just trying to see about mobile services. Okay. So, I read this question. I get questions like this a lot, guys, and there's a lot going on in this particular question, in this particular situation. Okay. So, I guess she found me because she saw that I'm doing a show on Revo Fit, and obviously I think Revo Fit is a fantastic product, and we're going to talk a lot about that next week. But when I ended up calling this person and talking and getting a little bit more information, and she mentioned that her brother was confined to a wheelchair, right? Prosthesis was not fitting, and the prosthetist had signed off on it, and he had signed off on it already. And then on top of that, he's really uncomfortable in his prosthesis because he has a lot of inflammation in his leg, right? So that for me was just like a red flag, stop, all full stop right there. Okay. And I explained to her and I said, look, love RevoFit, but right now the priority needs to be addressing what is the inflammation going on in your brother's leg. Okay. Is it because he's been sedentary and in a wheelchair for several months, right? And just the leg hanging down in the position is causing the leg to puff up a little bit, in which case it's not necessarily inflammation, it's more edema. Okay. Or is there an underlying infection going on? Okay. Is there perhaps a blood clot in there? Okay. There's a lot of things that can cause, whether it's inflammation or edema, there's a lot of different things that can cause that. So that's the first and foremost thing that needs to happen right there. Okay. Because if that's why the leg isn't fitting, an adjustable socket is not what you need to be worried about. You need to be worried about getting to the underlying medical condition and getting that straightened out. Right. And I really enjoyed talking to this young woman because she was very realistic and very pragmatic. She said, no, my brother has not taken care of himself, unfortunately, and this is what led to his amputation. And I go, well, one of the hard truths that your brother's going to have to hear is that if he wants to have a chance at wearing a leg and becoming ambulatory again, he's got to get these health conditions under control. Right? There is no way around it. There are no shortcuts. And guys, y'all know I don't sugarcoat. I don't sugarcoat things with my patients. I don't sugarcoat things with my kids. And I don't sugarcoat things on this show. There's no way to get around it. If you have a medical condition such as diabetes, blood pressure issues, autoimmune disease, you can't ignore it, right? So you've got two choices, play or fold. You can either work with your medical team to try to keep these conditions under control as best as possible and also making lifestyle changes, or, you let these conditions run rampant in your body, right? But then there's going to be consequences associated with that, right? And I know I'm preaching to the choir because a lot of you guys here are really good about being on the ball, about being on your medical conditions and people. Karen says, I love when people don't sugarcoat things. You're in the right place, Karen. Okay. But this is one of those things. And the thing is, I really enjoyed talking to this young woman because I could see that she really wants to advocate for her brother. And again, this is not just speaking to those of you who might even be in this situation. This is also speaking to those of you who have a friend, because many of you I know are mentoring other amputees. This is for those of you who are caregivers and clinicians as well. How do you have these really tough conversations? And at some point, if you have a situation like this, you got to put it at that person's doorstep and say, you have to take ownership. The medical community can only take you so far, but at some point you have to make that decision. Okay. Whether you want to take ownership and try to work with your medical team and try to find a different solution. Right. So in the course of also speaking to this young woman, and again, you just kind of start untangling the story, right? It was pretty obvious that this young man is suffering from depression, right? And we've talked a lot about it. We've talked a lot about it on the show in terms of the healing process from any trauma, not just amputation. It could be cancer, it could be a car accident, it could be burn trauma. It's physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? And you got to address all of that to get a nice healing progress, right? So for this young man, it's pretty obvious that his actions or his lack thereof taking action is coming from depression of his condition. Okay. So I connected her with the Amputee Coalition, the certified peer visitor program. For me, that's kind of my go-to, just because I'm like, I know their number. I'm that person in the certified peer visitor program knows my name now. Right. And just trying to find someone that this person can talk to who's been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt. Right. Not to mention all the support groups that are out there. Okay. So I wanted to kind of bring this particular email to the show because I didn't know there's probably many of you who have either been in this situation, some of you who might be in this situation, right? And then some of you who might be helping someone in this situation, right? So sometimes people are, especially if they're new to this whole situation and they think, okay, I've got to get the highest technology with my prosthesis. It's like, no. Before we even talk about technology, before we even talk about prosthetic componentry, right? Let's start at the foundation here. Let's make sure that all the medical conditions have been addressed. Let's make sure mental health is being addressed here in this situation, because it doesn't matter if he gets his leg. If he's depressed, he's not going to use it, right? And then after we kind of went through all of that, then I said, okay, so let's talk about perhaps getting a second opinion from a different prosthetist to see how they can help your brother with this socket. Yeah. So yeah, this is what happens when people email me. I dig in there and I get in there and I figure out what's going on. All right, let's see. Val says, how would you even know about a blood clot in a residual limb? No Babinski test. And that's actually a really, really, really great question. And it's actually not necessarily the Babinski test, Val. Some people use the Homan's test, and that was a test that was used a while back, but even that one is not a very accurate test. The way I was taught to screen for blood clots as a clinician is we check for color, we check for pulses, right? And we check to see if there's any unusual swelling going on or pain going on. And again, blood clots, I mean, as PTs, we catch a lot of blood clots. Why? Because we're mobilizing the patient, right? So I've had some people with blood clots that they just felt the ever so slight twinge in their calf, and it was a blood clot. And there's some blood clots that are asymptomatic, meaning that the person doesn't have any symptoms necessarily. Okay. So in an amputee, one way for a blood clot is basically just looking at the pulses and just seeing the pulses behind the knee if it's a below the knee amputee. Typically in the above the knee amputees, you're not going to see quite as many. Okay. But usually I'll check behind the knee. And if I suspect that there's a blood clot, they go straight to the doctor and we get, they get Doppler ultrasounds done to find it. Also just checking to see, is the patient on any kind of blood thinner medic to begin with, just to see if they have a history of this. That's another big indicator right there. Okay, let's see. I need to sip on my tea. Okay. Okay, Patrick, let me see. Patrick asks, I have an elderly patient, prior level of function, was walking with a rolling walker, now has cancer, lost a lot of weight, prosthetic sleeve doesn't fit, becoming bed bound, wheelchair bound, begging them for reassess new sleeve so she can ambulate. Don't know how important weight bearing and walking is for her. They are overwhelmed. Yeah. And often I know Patrick can echo this. As a clinician, part of what you do is not just the nuts and bolts of treating muscle strength and treating balance and flexibility. It's treating the patient as a whole. And sometimes as the physical therapist, you're the one who's basically coordinating the care. Back when I worked in the hospital system in Miami, I had a wonderful team. So we had a psychologist, so spoiled. We had a psychologist, a social worker, we had an occupational therapist, we had an amazing surgeon, and everybody just worked as a team. So it was just easy. It made the job easy and everybody was well taken care of. Out here, I'm kind of more on my own in my outpatient clinic. And oftentimes my patients will come to me years after their amputation. Because they heard about me or they saw the show or something like that. And, they don't have a person who's helping coordinate their care, right? So, yep, we got to wear a lot of hats when we're clinicians. All right. Polo says 10 to 13 hours a day. All right. Yep. Oh, yeah, the Homan's test was never valid. Never valid. I used to chuckle, Patrick, when some of the doctors would put in their negative Homan's test. I'm like, that means nothing. That's a whole nother talk for later. Yeah, so Brian says the PE, the pulmonary embolus and DVT showed up overnight, each time without any kind of notice, right? Yeah, so you can look at the popliteal or the popliteal vessels, the popliteal vein as well. All right. Yeah, and Patrick's right. When in doubt, check it out, right? Have the person get a Doppler ultrasound. Absolutely. All right, let me see if I can get this other question in here. Please hold. Okay. So this one came in, Virginia, who was watching the show this morning, said, I tried this exercise, but my knee is grinding. I can't do this one. She was referring to the squat exercise. So I'm going to have a total right knee replacement, and I'll see about next week's exercise. Okay, so yeah, guys, the squat exercise that I featured this morning, in my book and in my program, I have it as a phase 2, phase 3 exercise, not as a phase 1. Okay, it does take some time, to develop enough strength to be able to do this exercise properly and then continue progressing the strength, and also balance. So yes, I haven't just worked with amputees in my career. I've worked with pretty much almost every kind of specialty, that physical therapists work with, right? So part of that was working in the home health sector, a lot of joint replacement surgeries, lots and lots and lots of joint replacement surgeries, right? I used to joke around that I could do it with my eyes closed and hand tied behind my back. So oftentimes, my patients, I was either prepping them for joint replacement surgery, or they had the one side, right? And the knee on the other side was starting to produce a lot of pain, right? So here's kind of the key when it comes to pain, especially arthritic pain. The no pain, no gain policy doesn't work. That one went out in the 80s along with neon headbands, right? So causing pain, doing exercises that cause you pain is really getting you nowhere. And yeah, it could actually cause more damage to the joint, okay? So if you're finding that you are experiencing more arthritic pain when you do these exercises, it either means you need to choose it or you need to modify it in a different way, okay? So if I feel like someone can do the squat, but they're having a lot of knee grinding, first what I'm going to have them try is just to see if they can do a small squat. And I do mean small. I mean, like, come here, Bob. Oh. Sorry, Bob. Poor Bob. Bob's got arthritis. Bob's got poor guy. All right. Okay. So he's like, I don't want to do exercise now, right? So when I squats, guys, I really do mean, let's see if I can get him to do this, just a very small one. I mean, just a little one here and up, okay? So the person is barely going down, okay? And you can get muscle contraction from that. Now, if that is causing too much pain because it maybe just even being in a weight-bearing position, right? The person's right there. They're going to get that knee replacement done quickly. So we want to avoid the pain. Then I'll go to what are called the open chain exercises, right? So a few minutes ago, I told you about closed chain exercises where your foot is either planted on the ground or your foot is on the mat, right? With open exercises, it's the complete opposite. So, a lot of straight leg. Marianne says, quit doing your own Bob amputations. I did not mean to do, look at this poor guy. His clavicle's out of place. Missing an arm. I gotta put this guy back together again. He's gonna declare workers' comp, I think, if I keep that up. Okay, so doing something like straight leg exercises where the person is just lifting their leg up against gravity, that can really keep the muscle strength going while the person waits to have the total knee replacement or even total hip replacement done. Okay, so there's more than one way to skin a cat, a Bob. With some of these exercises. And again, this is where the help of your physical therapist really comes into play. This is kind of our bread and butter here. This is what we do. All right. Suzanne says, depression can be a nasty beast, but we are not alone in this fight for happiness or joy. And as long as I get all inside and reach out for support, my lows are usually manageable. Yeah. And it's a lifelong process, guys. I reference this a lot on the show in terms of, emotional and spiritual health, along with the physical health. Myself, I'm a cancer survivor, 6 years out, and that is a lifelong process and healing from that. And it's something that it changes you, right? It can change you for the better. It can change you for the worse. And I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think that's up to the individual to decide whether it changes you for the better or changes you for the worse. All right. Let's see. Patrick says, keep it pain-free as possible. Some people have a baseline of pain walking, right? 2 times body weight in general, good exercise. And that's basically it, guys. Yes. I have on occasion seen a patient that they said, yeah, the PT was kind of making me work through the pain. And it kind of makes me cringe a little bit on the inside when I hear that. Okay. Because that's not really getting anything accomplished. All right. All right, guys. I think I covered everything. Next week, y'all set your phones. I want you here next week. Okay. I've been teasing with a little bit of this, right? So next week we have Click Medical. And they're going to be bringing Joe Mahan. Joe Mahan is the creator of the RevoFit systems. He is a prosthetist based out in Utah. And they sent me this toy. And I've been having so much fun playing with this. So this is kind of a model, little mock-up of all the fun toys that they have for adjustability in a socket. So I've been having lots of fun playing with this. So guys, next week, we're going to be talking about adjustable sockets. All last year, y'all were asking me about adjustable sockets. So we're going to talk about adjustable sockets next week on the show. Okay. So mark it in your calendar and start keeping an eye out because we're doing giveaways on Instagram and on Facebook. Okay. Keep your eyes open because they got some nice prizes coming out. Karen says, you just got out of there. Life struggles can make us bitter or better. It's up to us. Couldn't agree with you more, Karen. Absolutely. So guys, as always, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. God bless. Bye.